While I'm in favor of the Senate retaining our prerogative to declare war, we do have the power to begin or to not begin a war. That is a power the Constitution gave us. But I don't think the Constitution intended to have 535 generals. I don't think it intended to have us explicitly talking about every contingency plan for every possible war in every corner of the globe. And I also echo the importance of the right to trial by jury. In fact, I'm appalled that anyone would think that we could arrest anyone in our country without charging them and giving them a right to a trial. It seems so fundamentally un-American. We have a chance to replace fear with confidence. Confidence that no terrorist and no country will ever conquer us if we remain steadfast to the principles of our founding documents. We have nothing to fear except our own unwillingness to defend what is naturally ours, our God-given rights. We have nothing to fear that should cause us to relinquish our rights as free men and women. I urge my colleagues to reject fear, to reject the siren call for ever more powerful government. A right to a jury trial is granted criminal defendants in order to prevent the oppression of government. It's not just about a fair trial. It's about checking your government. Because they know the American people are with me. If you ask a question, should we send money to countries that don't like us and disrespect us? 80 to 90% of the American people are with me on this. I'm just saying you don't have to bribe people to be your friend. We don't have the money anyway. We got to borrow the money from China to send it to Pakistan. I'm not saying don't have relations with Pakistan. Many in Pakistan have been sympathetic to our country. Many in Pakistan have helped our country. But many in Pakistan, with a wink and a nod, look at us, take our money, and laugh at us. They cash our check and they laugh at us. The American people are tired of this. Our treasury is bare. There are a multitude of reasons why we should not continue to send good money after bad. We give Egypt $3 billion a year, and you know what? Egypt can't protect or won't protect our embassy. My position is not one penny more for Libya or Egypt or Pakistan until they act like our allies. Let's send it when they start behaving like civilized nations and come to their senses. Why don't we take half of the $4 billion that we wouldn't send to Pakistan? Let's take half of that and put that into veterans benefits. I'm willing to triple the size of the veterans benefits bill if we'll take the money from an area where we shouldn't be spending it. What I would be asking for is 15 minutes of the Senate's time to vote on ending this aid and taking half of the $4 billion that we're squandering overseas, giving to people who don't like us, take half of that aid and put it towards the deficit, and take half of that aid and put it into veterans benefits. Let's memorialize those people who sacrificed their lives and the veterans by saying we're not going to give money to a country that disrespects and disavows everything we've done over the last 10 years to combat terrorism. Currently, Congress has about a 10% approval rate. One of the reasons is we don't even obey our own rules. For goodness sakes, 600-page bill, and I got it this morning. Not one member of the Senate will read this bill before we vote on it. We're going to vote on this in the next 30 minutes. I and Senator Lee and others will object to this. We'll have a point of order that our own rules say that it has to be posted online for 48 hours. 600 pages. No one will read it. No wonder our approval rating is 10%. Nobody knows what we're voting on. This isn't the way we should operate. The American people want to know, why do we all of a sudden say, oh, the government's going to shut down if we don't do something in 3 days? Well, what were they doing for the previous 3 months? What's going on up here? I have a bill in Congress that says we should read the bills before we pass them. It says that we should wait 1 day for each 20 pages. So we'd be given time to read 600-page bills. Zero on the other side of the aisle voted for their own president's budget. How are we going to get to compromise if they're not showing up for work? How are we going to get anything done if they don't obey their own rules? I think this is why the American people are unhappy with what's going on in this body. I object strenuously to it. I will vote against this, and I will raise a point of order that says we should read the bills before we pass them. We'll just overturn this by saying we are the majority and we deem it so. We are the majority. We don't care what's in the bills. We don't care to take the time to read the bills. We are in the majority and we deem it so. Now, I have voted for sanctions on Iran and don't think it's a good idea that Iran have nuclear weapons. We've been at war for a decade now. We've been at war in Afghanistan, and I supported going to Afghanistan, but I'm ready to come home from Afghanistan. We were at war in Iraq for nearly 10 years. I'm glad we're coming home from Iraq, but I don't want to automatically commit our country to a war in Iran. Is that historically our country, we have had defensive wars. Nobody messes with us, and I agree with that. You mess with the United States, there will be significant repercussions. We won't let you invade other countries, and we won't let you invade the United States. But the idea that we will have offensive war and not defensive war is a concept that is new in our history. And I think it's a dangerous one. A country that vows to never contain an enemy is a country that vows to always preemptively attack. I'm proud of being for a strong national defense. I'm proud of being for protecting our country. But I cannot accept a resolution that says we will completely get rid of the containment strategy that really was a strategy that kept us safe for 60 years during the most aggressive and dangerous war we've ever encountered, the Cold War. Some would argue that the leadership of North Korea is equally as irrational as the leadership of Iran, if not more so. So we are able to contain a two-bit socialist, very small and unproductive country like North Korea. I see no reason why, if we had to, we couldn't contain Iran. I think the Iraq War was a mistake. I wasn't here, but I would have voted no. I fear that we're pushing on. Every month there has to be a new and more bellicose resolution to ensure that we will go to war and that at all costs we will go to war in Iran. I think it's a mistake. But you know, there are other things to do. Besides saying we will always have to go to war, I don't for 1 minute believe everything they say or think that they're trustworthy, but it's better than war to have negotiations, even with a fallible and perhaps deceitful partner sometimes, but it's still better than war. Our soldiers are not inanimate clay that we put on this master board of chess, this geopolitical chess game to move around. These are young men and women who live in your neighborhood, who live in the neighboring town. And when I think about war, or when I think about this resolution, I don't think about empty black and white words on a page. I think about those young men and women and my commitment, my real and strong commitment that I'm not going to war without absolute provocation, without a threat to the national security, and for goodness sakes, without a debate over it.